What's up everyone, Ben here again with another video for Fluent in Finance, the channel dedicated to all things personal finance related, where we encourage you to earn more, spend less, and invest the difference. So let's get started with today's topic. So today we're going to be talking about what goes into calculating your credit score. What makes up this magic number that you keep hearing about? Because understanding how your credit score is calculated is a required first step in order to try to increase your credit score. You have to know what's hurting you and how much it's hurting you before you can try to fix the problem and improve your score. Now, there's a variety of different companies that will calculate a credit score for you, but by far and away the most popular one that's used by most financial institutions is done by the Fair Isaac Corporation, otherwise known as your FICO score. So let's take a look at that. Now, the FICO company does not release every little detail of how they calculate your credit. It is a proprietary formula. However, they have released some general guidelines that provide an overall picture and insight into what they are looking for. So your FICO score is broken down into 5 distinct categories. And it should not be a surprise that the first one and the largest category is your payment history. This clocks in at 35% of your total credit score. Next up on the list is your amount owed, which is 30% of your credit score. Now, this is based on a percentage of how much credit you have available to you versus how much of it are you already using. More on this later. Clocking in at number 3 on the list, making up 15% of your overall credit score, is the overall length of period that you've had your credit accounts open. And rounding out our categories, number 4 and 5 on the list, each comprise 10% of your overall credit score. And these final 2 items are your credit mix and new credit. So let's dive a little bit deeper and analyze each of these sections individually to see what they're looking for. So as mentioned, the largest category, your payment history, makes up 35% of your total credit score. And it kind of makes sense that this is what they're primarily looking for because, banks want to know if they're going to get paid back or not, right? And so your credit history is looking at, have you been making consistent, on-time payments throughout your life? Now, this generally looks back into your history about 7 years. So any negative items are going to stick with you for a while. Now, the good news is they weigh these on a sliding scale, which means that new problems hurt you a lot more than, let's just say, a problem that happened 6 years ago. Which kind of makes sense, right? Like, everybody has hiccups, everybody has problems at some point in their life. So maybe you had this issue 6 years ago. But ever since then, going forward, you've been on time every time with your payments. And that shows that it was really just kind of a one-time blip and that you are pretty stable and financially responsible. So this is going to be looking for items such as delinquent accounts, 30, 60, 90 days past due. It's going to be looking for bankruptcies or collections, write-offs, anything where you did not pay your creditor back on time as you had originally agreed to do. And like I said, recent items hurt you a lot more than items in the past. So if you recently had a 30-day past due notice issued to you by your credit card company and you otherwise have fantastic credit score, maybe you have an 800 credit score, your score could theoretically drop by about 100 points. That's massive. Likewise, if you had the same issue but 6 years ago and never had any late payments since then, this might just barely register as a blip on your credit score. It might only drop your score by 5 or 10 points. So the next category is the amount owed, which makes up 30% of your overall credit. Now this is, like I said, a percentage-based system based on how much credit do you have available versus how much of it are you currently using. So let's take a look at how this might actually play out. Let's say we have two individuals and they both owe $4,000 on their credit cards. All right? So person A, he owes $4,000 and his credit card, he just has one card. His credit card has a limit of $5,000, of which he is using $4,000 of it. This means that he is using 80% of his available credit. That's a very high utilization rate. So person B in our example, he also owes $4,000, but his credit card might have a higher limit. His credit limit might be $25,000. Or conversely, he might have multiple credit cards that the total amount of credit is $25,000. So in this example, he has $25,000 available to him and he's only using $4,000 of that. And that's only about 16% utilization rate, much lower than this other gentleman who was using 80%. Now you might be thinking to yourself, but that doesn't really make a lot of sense. I mean, both of these people, regardless of how much is available to them, they still owe the same amount of money. They still owe $4,000, right? And that's true, but in a worst case scenario, let's just say that both of these people, they get hurt or they lose their job or whatever the situation is. Person A only has $1,000 available to him on his credit. Now, $1,000 doesn't really go very far, especially if you just lost your job or are experiencing some sort of financial hardship. So it's not going to take very long before person A is overdrawn and just simply doesn't have the money to pay his bills. However, person B, he still has $21,000 available to him on his credit cards. So if life throws him a curveball and he gets fired, he can probably survive for a handful of months and rack up credit card debt in the meantime. Now, obviously, this is not an ideal situation. You don't want to rack up credit card debt, but it is an option as opposed to person A who is just simply out of luck. So because of this, you want to keep your credit utilization rate as low as possible. Now, most places recommend you keep this number to about 20 to 30% of your overall credit limit. This means if you had a single credit card with a $1,000 credit limit, the most that you would really want to spend on it on any given month is between $200 and $300. Now, for a lot of people that pay all of their bills, grocery shopping, etc., with a credit card, only spending $200 to $300 per month on a credit card is not possible. And so your higher utilization rate is going to be hurting your credit score. But thankfully, this is one that's pretty easy to solve. You might ask your credit card company for an increase in your credit limit. Because if you have $200 on your credit card with a $1,000 limit, that's a 20% utilization rate. But if you keep that same 20% and your credit card company bumps you up from a $1,000 limit to a $2,000 limit, now suddenly, even though you still have $200 on your card, your utilization rate has just been cut in half. It's gone from 20% down to only 10% utilization. So having more credit available to you is a good thing. So next up on the list is your length of history, coming in at 15%. So this is going to be looking at your oldest, longest standing accounts, as well as the average duration of all of your accounts. So a lender is much more confident that you will be paying them back if you have been making consistent payments for the last 20 years, as opposed to somebody who just applied for their first credit card 3 months ago and they've made 3 payments on time. Now with this category, unfortunately, there's not a lot you can necessarily do. You can't just magically increase the duration that your accounts have been opened. And this is why I highly suggest that everybody should open a credit card on the day that they turn 18. You want to get this clock ticking as soon as possible so that your duration of time starts to build. Other things that you're going to want to keep in mind are things like, let's just say you've had a credit card, one singular card, for the last 10 years. And now you want to open up a second credit card. Well, the first day that your new account has been opened, you suddenly dropped your average duration of your credit history from 10 years to only 5 years. The average of your old account at 10 years and your new account, which is 0 years. And this is why I suggest that when people are trying to build their credit score, that they immediately go out and attempt to open numerous different lines of credit. You see, instead of only having one credit card that was 10 years old, if instead we change the scenario to you having 4 different credit cards, each of which were 10 years old, and you wanted to now apply for a brand new credit card, instead of dropping your length of history from 10 years all the way down to 5, it would only take it from 10 to 8. Next up on the list, number 4, coming in at 10% of your overall credit score, is your mix of credit. Lenders want to see that you are able to handle a variety of different loans and successfully pay them all on time, every time. So they're looking for different things like, do you have a mortgage? Do you have an auto loan? Do you have student loans? Do you have credit cards? Do you have different types of loans? You see, being able to juggle more loans and more different types of loans takes a little bit more skill than just simply paying one credit card off each month that you've already set up on auto pay. So this demonstration of being able to juggle and handle more and different accounts shows that you are more responsible and thus increases your credit score. And lastly, at number 5, also coming in at 10%, is new credit. So essentially this is looking at, are you applying for new loans? You should expect that every time you get a new loan that your credit score will drop. Usually not significantly, but at least by a few points. Now thankfully these points come back relatively quickly, and this entire category only looks at the last year or two of your credit score. And obviously the most recent part of that is going to affect it more than items at the end. Now this is important because let's just say that you recently got into credit cards and you want to sign up for a variety of different credit cards all at the same time so that you can get those initial sign-up bonuses. Instead of applying for all of those cards all at the same time, you might want to stagger that out a little bit. You see, in a lender's eyes, when somebody is suddenly asking for a large amount of new credit all at the same time, it kind of throws some red flags for the lender. It makes them think that there is something traumatic going on in their lives where this person now needs a lot of extra credit in order to survive. And so this red flag can cause a relatively significant drop in your credit score. Now, I love credit cards. I usually apply for anywhere between 6 and 9 credit cards per year so that I can get those initial sign-up bonuses. Now, applying for 6 or 9 different cards per year might sound like a lot to some people, and it is, but by spacing those cards out over the period of a year, instead of applying for all 6 of those cards all at once, it doesn't have nearly as significant of an impact on my credit score. And this fact allows my credit score to hover at roughly an 800, even though I usually do lose a few points for my new credit. So there you have it, how your credit score is calculated and a few tips or tricks to help you increase your score. If you like this video, then please be sure to subscribe, leave a comment down below. New videos every week. Thanks, and I'll see you again soon.